Things always get a bit iffy when you're getting secondhand information, which we certainly were with this case file. Little did we know, we'd actually eventually get the original. But yet, the mystery would remain unsolved. So stick around for case file 1135300, My Pretty Doll. Originally posted to What's That Song in March 2021, this song started getting investigated by the Lostwave community pretty quickly. The What's That Song poster even provided a longer length sample on Vocaroo, which is always nice to get, though the recording in this case sounded like it was coming from inside of a garbage can and it still wasn't the full song. But that aside, the song was pretty interesting, and depending on who you asked, you'd get vocal comparisons to bands like Oasis. Swior started things off by getting lyrics out of the way, but beyond that, all we had was confusion. The original poster's English skills were, well, lacking. And we tried to make sense of it all. Apparently his friend had recorded this song off radio around 2007, and given the broken English, we suspected this song was probably from Latin America or Spain, but then the original poster answered someone on What's That Song saying their friend had actually recorded the song in Great Britain. We wanted the full recording, but when the original poster would answer questions, they'd make clear that they gave us all they had. Since we pretty quickly ruled out all Discogs entries of the obvious title, My Pretty Doll, we instead looked for bands that had been compared to Oasis, like the Atones, but it wasn't them. The original poster kept coming back with bits and pieces of information, like there was a side 2 of this tape, and the friends said the tape was from 2006 or 2007. Then, an account saying they were the mystery friend in question showed up in the What's That Song comments and said that they had recorded the song in Spain and no longer had the tape. But then the What's That Song original poster replied to that person saying, "This guy isn't my friend. I have no idea who this person is." Meanwhile, as is often the case, we were having a conversation about the vocalist's accent, especially the way he sang pretty. And, as is also often the case, we got a weird vocal comparison. Green Day's Billy Joe Armstrong. We found another band that matched the style and the time frame, The Kind, spelled Kynd, but ruled them out. We're having discussions about the possible titles for this song could be, which is often a sign that the search is kind of stagnant. Then, suddenly, an account named MPDSteven posted on the What's That Song post, saying he was the friend in question, that this was his recording, and that, oddly enough, he didn't know who the What's That Song original poster was. Well, we were ready to call this one a hoax, just like that earlier friend. But, well, this was legit. Hours later, we had the full recording of My Pretty Doll. And it no longer sounded like it was coming from inside of a trash can. So we started to get information from MPDSteven. Like My Pretty Doll was between 2 other tracks from 2009. So, it was likely recorded in 2009, since none of the other recordings on the tapes were any later. We continued getting information from Steven. His tape did, in fact, have 2 sides, and he recorded from various radio stations in Sheffield, United Kingdom. He uploaded the full tape, and the A side was all well-known bands, but the B side had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 unknown songs out of 10. Of course, the Lostwave community would eventually narrow that down to just 2 unknown songs, one of which kind of was low quality, and the other one, which was by Pretty Doll. We asked Steven what stations he typically recorded from. He recalled Holland FM and Shure FM, But he didn't believe these songs were recorded from Holland FM because they played mostly chart toppers. Meanwhile, we kept trying to find possible candidates, like a band Cider, who had a song called Dolls, but after quite a while, finally confirmed it wasn't them. Then, a question. If Steven was active on the What's That Song thread, couldn't we ask him to join the Discord so we'd have a more direct channel to him? But for some reason, despite being invited twice, he didn't join. We found a YouTuber, SBrit, who had a lot of the same style of music, and we got a hold of them, but they didn't recognize the song. We kept looking for more people on YouTube, Instagram, pretty much anywhere that might know a lot about the same type of music as My Pretty Doll, and got responses that all equated to, I don't know the song. Sorry. And because when you're trying to delve into every well and you feel like every well has come up dry, sometimes you go back to the well you started with. We started to talk about the accent again, and we kind of felt like this was probably an accent from Dorset in the United Kingdom. User Funado also started a Google sheet where we could add leads we came across and then mark them off if we ruled them out. At this point, we were at least able to say our search was most likely 2000 to 2009 alt-rock bands, probably from Dorset, and that of those release years, 2009 was the most likely. We found bands like NET, Pipeline, and Lightbulb Heads. NET was particularly hard to find, and another band we tossed around for a bit, 211, was even harder, though they too were eventually ruled out. Seriously though, the number of bands we found and ruled out were in the dozens. To name a few, these are all real band names by the way: Schnauzer, Cheese, Wilson, Powder, The Visitors, Sad Me, The Reborn Identity, Moke, The Bishops, Ex-Lovers, amongst many more. It was really frustrating. It was continuing to get gutterball after gutterball after gutterball. User Reconnez Cherie, who I'm sure I'm mispronouncing, was responsible for a good portion of the hunt for this song. Also contacted a person on a Sheffield music site, which led to the song getting posted to a Sheffield music fan Facebook group, but to no avail. We kept having conversations with Steven on What's That Song, asking him about what radio stations he could have recorded this from, and he said the program's on a radio station called Shure Radio or Shure FM sounded familiar. As we looked into Shure Radio, we learned that in 2009, it changed its name to Forge Radio Station, and it was a radio station owned and run by students of the University of Sheffield in the United Kingdom. We even found the station manager for Forge Radio at the time, Jen Carr, but couldn't find a working contact method for her, at least at first. Then we did find a LinkedIn for her. She'd gotten married and was now Jen Surtees. And I'd come into the picture at this point, messaging Jen on LinkedIn, but getting no reply. Sigh. More sigh was the sheer number of programs that existed on Forge Radio, and with not a whole lot from Steven, we were left with tons of shows to look into. At least we could use the fact that we were now pretty sure that My Pretty Doll had been on Forge Radio, that we could look into bands that played on Forge, thanks Google, to rule them out. We also found a website called British Underground Rock Bands, or Burbs, that we started to go through. We also eventually got a hold of the owner of the site, who apparently goes by the name Barry Burbs and also sells vinyl record cleaning solution. Unfortunately, he also did not recognize My Pretty Doll. We reached out to the current manager of Forge Radio, Sam, but he let us know, unfortunately, the song log was either lost or the song was played directly from a CD. Soon after, we kept looking at shows that had been on Forge Radio around the same time My Pretty Doll was believed to have been recorded, and the shows that were the likeliest candidates were shows called Unsure on Sure and The Lovely Show. If only we could actually have a direct line to Steven. We never did get an answer to why he wasn't joining Discord. We'd ask one more time, and we knew it'd be fruitless. Except it wasn't. Because in early March 2024, 3 years into the search for my pretty doll, MPDSteven would join the Discord. It seemed like a dream come true. And you know what else would seem like a dream come true? You hitting the like and subscribe button. So why don't we go 2 for 2 and you just go ahead and do that? Thanks! Immediately, Steven started giving us answers, like him saying that he either recorded this on a Thursday or Friday evening. He also confirmed that Forge's schedule did change all the time, and that he was, I'm quoting here, 100% sure that the show had the word unsigned in its name. He also thought the DJ's name was Henry, though his certainty on that was less than 100%. We kept looking and we went through so many possible bands, all of which kept getting added to the spreadsheet and each one started getting ruled out. Reconnez Cherie reached out to the host of Sheffield Music Hour, and while he didn't recognize the song, he wanted to try to help, so we sent him what we had. I was asked about contacting the old Forge Radio music director, Jen Surtees again, though as both LinkedIn and Facebook had gone nowhere. My only option left was sending an email to her work email address, which I could reliably guess, but I chose to hold off on that. It felt awkward and, well, if you can't tell, I'm kind of already an awkward person. Meanwhile, we found an old archive of the Forge radio schedule circa 2009, but no show called Unsigned on it, though maybe it was unplugged, but, well, my pretty doll definitely wasn't unplugged. What seemed closer were shows called Unknown Pleasures and UK Undiscovered. We found a long list of Forge radio DJs from 2009. It made sense to reach out to some of them and, hey, some of them were on LinkedIn, my time to shine. I contacted 2. Andrew Marsh, who said the sound sounded like Blur and asked if I had more information, which I passed along to him, and Ross Haymes, who not only said he loved the detective work, which has just got to make you smile, but also asked for more information, which I gave to him. I also found a few more people from an archived version of Forge Radio's website. Head of music, Catherine Holman, head of programming, Matthew Smith, and 2 assistant station managers. Remember, Jen Carr, or Jen Surtees, was the main station manager. But the only person I could 100% say was the right person to be contacting, because those other names were either too specific or too non-specific, was a person named Chris Conway, who I emailed. We still felt like we were against a wall, so I finally bit the bullet and sent an email to Jen Carr Surtees' work email address, which bounced. Yeah. And I have yet to hear back from Chris, Andrew, Ross, or a few other people I've recently messaged. We're starting to contact more and more people we know worked at Forge Radio around the same time that My Pretty Doll is believed to have been recorded. So we're hopeful that will lead to an answer soon. But as for right now, that's where things stand. If you have any questions about the search, things we haven't tried, or you just want to say hi, please feel free to leave comments in the section below. Until next time, I'm PersonOfDistraction, and I'm now listening to